Okay, well, good afternoon. Joining me here today, I'm really happy that we have our First Lady, Casey DeSantis, who's been doing a lot of great work. Our Chief Financial Officer, our Chief Financial Officer, Jimmy Petronis, our Head of the Division of Emergency Management, Kevin Guthrie, Siobhan Harris, Florida Secretary for the Department of Children and Families, Dane Eagle, Lee County native, Secretary, Department of Economic Opportunity, Melanie Griffin, Secretary of DBPR, and we've got local officials and other folks, and we're going to announce these recovery centers here and elsewhere in a moment. First, I was in Pine Island for the first time today since the storm hit. I had flown over it and seen damage, but we were in a situation where that bridge had been severed from the mainland, and there was talk about what to do. Some of those folks were told to they're going to have to get off the island, but that's not the way they live. And so they asked us for support to help devise a solution. And so we looked to do maybe ferry people, but I'm like, you know what? Let's just patch this bridge. So it turns out we're going to have that bridge patched this week. So they're going to be able to go and access it. And that means that I visited the Publix. Publix is just giving away all their perishable items. They're going to open as soon as the bridge is back. They have generator. They're going to be back open on Pine Island, and they're going to be bringing their supplies in. So that's going to be really, really important to be able to get that component done. I will say, probably saw more debris on Pine Island than any place I've been other than Fort Myers Beach. The electrical, I had poles down. You had other lines down, and so no one had done anything about the power there. So today, when I went, we also had brought over via Chinook helicopters. We brought over linemen to be starting the work on the electrical there, and so that's going to be. And that's going to be important. And we want to do the same thing for Sanibel as well. So there's a contract now being bid on for a contractor to come and patch the causeway. Now, that's a little bit more difficult fix than Pine Island because it's broken in multiple ways. But I think you can get a temporary solution there to be able to restore access to Sanibel and Captiva. And I think that will also help with the recovery efforts and the restoration efforts. I have not been on the ground yet in Sanibel. I've flown over it a couple times. I'm going to probably go tomorrow and look firsthand. But my sense is if it's similar to Pine Island, we just need more linemen there. We need debris clear. I know the guards been there clearing the roads, but very, very important that we do that because you got all this stuff going on, and it's and this what we're doing here important. Our view at the state level is you do all this stuff on parallel tracks. You don't wait until one thing's done and then begin to start the next. We know we have to do all these, so let's start them all and move them forward. So as part of that effort, Kevin Guthrie, we're going to start having on each of these barrier islands, Pine Island, Captiva, some of the others, a command and control element on the island so that all this stuff can be coordinated there. If they need something, then we obviously can be there. So that's going to be something that's very, very significant, and it'll really help get those barrier islands going back in a better direction. So I'm proud that we were able to do that. I was also in Charlotte County. We've got people from all over this country that have come in to help people all throughout Florida, but particularly in Southwest Florida. One of the charity organizations there is a group out of Kansas City called Operation Barbecue. And if you want barbecue, being out of Kansas City is not a bad place to be from. And so they're serving hot meals for people, and they're distributing a bunch. People can come in a line individually, and it's really making a big difference. I will say in Charlotte County, in Port Charlotte where we're at, there's debris, there's been damage, and so folks need all the help they can get. So I'm really happy to see the private organizations, and the First Lady's been involved, of course, in the FloridaDisasterFund.org. She's going to say something about that in a minute, but I think it's been really remarkable, the number. I think Chick-fil-A is here today, right? They have the Chick-fil-A truck in town, if not today, tomorrow, and a lot of these other companies have been really, really good. I also we've been very clear that in situations like this, we're not going to let bad actors exploit them. That means law and order will be enforced. That means individual Floridians' right to defend themselves and their homes will be honored. And we've had 4 looters that were arrested, I guess a couple days ago, and they need to be brought to justice, and we're not going to tolerate it. But 3 of the 4 are illegal aliens. And so these are people that are foreigners. They're illegally in our country. And not only that, they try to loot and ransack in the aftermath of a natural disaster. I mean, they should be prosecuted, but they need to be sent back to their home country. They should not be here at all. So we've now had more than 2,300 rescues, and our urban search and rescue teams with more than 1,000 personnel have gone door to door to 79,000 structures to check on occupants. This is something that's really, really significant. There's more urban search and rescue capability in Florida since this storm than has ever been in one place, in one state, since 9/11, when they were in New York City. And so that shows you, I think, that the dedication. But part of that is we've actually put money in urban search and rescue in Florida in this most recent budget, did a huge increase for them because we saw with Surfside how important it is to have that capability. So we're glad that we were doing that. We also did this most recent budget year under my direction and working with the legislature, Florida, we created a disaster relief fund of $500 million that's in the state budget. So we're planning for things like this. You pray that they don't happen, but you've got to be ready in case they do. So that $500 million is what we're using, is what we use to do the ramp up, to pre-stage and do everything we did that. It's also where we're taking money from to defray the costs of these additional linemen coming in to get the power back on. In Hurricane Michael, there was like a pissing contest about who's going to get the reimbursement or who's going to be on the hook, and so some of the efforts were slower. And what I'm saying is, look, I'll be on the hook for it. That's fine. We'll use our disaster fund to do these reimbursements. We'll work it out somehow, but I want to surge people here. So you have 1,000 linemen statewide from the Co-op Association throughout Florida that came, and then Duke Electric, they're doing 2,500 to 3,500 people surging down after they've completed their efforts in other part of the state. So this is a massive number of people, and that's what I want to see. We want to be able to get the power back on. I mean, there's been a lot of progress on the FPL side. Now we're looking to see, I think you'll see the LCEC start to see some progress, and it's very, very important for people. There's better water now through most parts of the county. Not every part, but they had all these water mains that broke. Kevin Guthrie sent this engineering firm. You got guys from MIT working on the water down here in Lee County, and that's what we want to see. If everyone has access to electricity, or at least the homes that can receive it. There are going to be some homes that were damaged so much they can't receive electricity, so that's a separate problem. But assuming your home can receive it, if you have electricity and the water and all that, that's a huge, huge part of being able to be in a better spot. So we think that that's really, really important. We also understand, yes, get those key things, the infrastructure, all that. But then there's individuals that have individual needs for different types of assistance. Maybe insurance claim, maybe it's FEMA relief, maybe you need charity help. So all of that is why we work to do what we're doing here today. So FEMA has been working with us. Jimmy Petronis has taken the lead on insurance. Dane Eagle and his team at the Department of Economic Opportunity, and really mobilizing all applicable state agencies, are here today to set up the first disaster recovery center in Fort Myers. And just to put this in perspective, this is less than a week from the storm hitting, and you have the DRCs that are set up. So this is something that we move very quickly on. I started prattling about this to Kevin, like literally Friday after the storm, and he's like, we're doing it. But I mean, we really wanted to accelerate because we understand people have apprehension. They want to go in if they need help. Now, you don't need to come to this to get FEMA. You can sign up on the website, you can call the number, and same with your insurance companies. They're all here. You don't have to do that National Flood Insurance Program. I think they have representatives here. If not, they will shortly. You can do that apart from this, but if you have questions and things, and then our state programs here will be one-stop shop. So we have a total of 10 state and federal agencies that are on site to help. FEMA is helping with individual assistance claims as well as temporary housing assistance. I met some folks at the shelter last night whose homes were destroyed. I'll tell you though, their spirit was remarkable. I mean, they were thanking me and the Red Cross and everybody more than they were concerned about their own misfortune. They felt very fortunate to have a lot of support, which is really a great attitude to have, but it was a really difficult experience, and so there's going to be some people that are going to need some solutions for at least the short term to be able to get in a good spot, and so we understand that, and FEMA will be a big part of that. DEO here in the state of Florida is helping with things like disaster reemployment assistance, small business damage survey, and small business emergency bridge loans. So I activated today the Florida Small Business Emergency Bridge Loan Program. We've made $50 million available, and we've put aside $10 million of that for agriculture businesses, small businesses, that have been impacted by Hurricane Ian in Charlotte, Collier, DeSoto, Flagler, Glades, Hardy, Hendry, Highlands, Hillsborough, Lee, Manatee, Monroe, Orange, Osceola, Pinellas, Polk, Putnam, Sarasota, Seminole, St. Johns, and Volusia counties. So what this program does in terms of the loans, it gives short-term, zero-interest loans to small businesses that experience economic injury or physical damage due to Hurricane Ian. So if your business got damaged, you can't be in business until it gets fixed, you can get a bridge loan to get you through there. Some people may not have access to electrical. Obviously, there's certain things with these barrier islands, you may not physically be able to get there, although we'll fix that with these bridges. So there's going to be a great support for that, and we're really happy about that. So you can apply starting right now, and that application goes through December 2nd, 2022, or until all available funds are expended. And we'll see if this is something that is a bigger need for. You know, we were able to secure, because we actually run the state properly and we had the economy open, we've got the largest budget surplus in the history of the state of Florida. So we have the ability to up the ante on that program if we need to. And I know if there's things we need to do legislatively, I know the legislature will want to be there and will want to help. So we'll meet the needs. Florida Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles is here to help Floridians who lost their identification in the storm. You can apply for and get a driver's license and other IDs right here at the Disaster Recovery Center. Our DBPR agency will help Floridians with any individual and business licensure issues. The Small Business Development Council will be here to help counsel small businesses on the ways available to support and recovery. CareerSource Florida is here to help Floridians with individual employment and workforce training needs. You know, our unemployment rate prior to the storm was 2.7%. Nationwide is 3.7%. There's still an awful lot of opportunity in this state. This area will bounce back, I think, very quickly. We're going to make sure of that. But if you need different job opportunities, they're there in Florida, and they're going to help you put you where you need to be. CFO Petronas is co-locating his insurance village right here so people can get help with their insurance claims. I saw these trucks of these insurance companies, so you'd be able to go and do that. And remember, if you had wind damage, roof damage, things like that, trees falling on your home, that's probably going to be your homeowner's policy. If your house flooded, that's probably going to be something under the National Flood Insurance Program. If you didn't have flood policies, your homeowners may not cover. I mean, I think that's going to be a difficult thing if you have people that were not in a flood zone, were not required to get it, were told they didn't need it, but then their house ends up flooding anyways. And so, but nevertheless, both of those are here, the private homeowners as well as the flood. We have here at the DRC 5 of Elon Musk's Starlink devices. So when you're coming through, you're waiting in line, you're able to do the internet, you can make phone calls, text message, all that will be here. Department of Emergency Management is working to establish additional disaster recovery centers in Southwest Florida by the end of the week. Today's opening of the center is possible because we did a really major mobilization before the storm came to make sure that everything was pre-staged for food, water, supplies to be able to do that. So we had, right after landfall on 3 a.m. on the 29th, we had bulk commodities coming in to the most affected communities, Charlotte, Lee, Sarasota in particular. We had a pod set up when? Saturday morning, Friday afternoon, Saturday morning, very quickly after the storm left the state at the end of Thursday. So that's a very quick turnaround. And you have 27 pods now. Sarasota actually just closed 3 and moved their supply to areas of need. That's actually a good sign when the county's saying we don't need the pod in this location anymore, because that means people are likely getting what they need without the pods. We've relocated 2 of the pods that Sarasota did no longer need, one to DeSoto and an additional one in Lee. And we're seeing if there's any other additional areas with needs. Across our pods in the impacted areas, there have been more than 3.2 million meals deployed, 18 million bottles of water, and 87,000 bags of ice just to South Florida alone. So that's a really, really significant effort. Nonprofit organizations, Florida Baptist Disaster Relief, Red Cross, World Central Kitchen, they're here helping, and a lot of them are doing hot meals for folks. They're actually doing hot meals on Pine Island. I saw they're bringing in supplies on the boat, and they're cooking hot meals for those. So very resourceful, very happy to see that. I did mention Chick-fil-A. Does anyone know where the Chick-fil-A bus is? I mean, I think a lot of people would want that, so we'll see. Kevin Guthrie, at my direction, has deployed a mobile fueling station to Dunbar, where they were struggling to find adequate gasoline. So that fueling station will allow people to be able to fill up their tanks and has really helped. We did one in Arcadia. People were really happy to see that big tanker show up. We have now at our pods, you could get a blue tarp to put on your roof. Now, fortunately, I've flown over almost every place. Most of the roofs were fine. There were some, but I thought there'd be a lot more. I think the construction in Florida is built to very good codes. So I think more of the damage is water damage than the wind to the roof. Nevertheless, the Army Corps of Engineers has initiated Operation Blue Roof to help homeowners with temporary roof repair. So basically their Blue Roof program is what, a step up from a tarp but less than a permanent solution?
Yes, sir.
Yep. Okay, so Kevin's going to talk about that. So as of, I think, 3 o'clock, I think we're down to 3.7% of accounts that don't have power across the state of Florida, and only 2 counties have more than 50% of their accounts without power. And as of today, Lee County is no longer one of those. So Lee County has 54% of the accounts restored. I mentioned Pine Island, we're making the effort there. That is going to take a little longer, but we got to get people in there. Then there is going to be the question in terms of when you get to 100%, or can you get to 100%, because I think there are going to be some customers who maybe are going to need some structural improvements on their ability to receive power, but we'll see what happens. But as of today, DeSoto is 50% out and Charlotte is 55% out. Everywhere else is under 50%, and even counties in Southwest Florida like Collier is now down to like 8 or 9% without. And so that's been really remarkable. If you look statewide, the number of people that have been restored, I think they've restored like 2.3 million accounts, and here we are. And in some of these other areas that have gotten hit, I mean, some people have been without power for a long, long time. And so this is an important effort and want to keep making progress. We're deploying 375 Starlinks total across the impacted areas. And so that may be at a DRC, it may be at a pod, it may be someplace where businesses can use it. We really want, I'll tell you, it's really good internet, and I know people have been very happy with the performance of it. I mentioned that we were going to do the Pine Island Bridge. So yesterday, we had 130 FDOT trucks that were there working to get this temporary bridge fix. And it will be done this week. And so that's going to be a big deal for those folks. I mentioned Sanibel. We have a request for bid that's out. There is going to be some bids selected soon, and we're going to commence with that process to do Sanibel on a temporary basis. And it's going to require a little bit more TLC than what's happened in Pine Island, just because there's more breaks. But nevertheless, we're going to do it. And I thought people said, well, maybe do a ferry. They used to have a ferry, all this stuff. But honestly, by the time you do all that, I could probably get this bridge done anyways. And so the state of Florida's taken the lead on that. We're happy to do that, and we want to be able to do. We mentioned TECO, Duke, and Florida Electric Co-ops deploying the linemen here to Lee County. I think with the deployments of everything that's happened, Lee County is probably the lineman capital of the United States. I don't think there's any place where more of these guys are at, and we need that until we get to as close to 100% as we can. I've directed Kevin Guthrie. We've got the disaster fund. We've planned for this. We will take care of the reimbursements. Don't let that be a deterrent, and don't let anyone not want to do it because they're worried about the cost. We'll handle that, and we'll work it out as best that we can. We now have seen the timelines move up for the county for restoration estimates, and I think a lot of that is because we've surged resources here, so we're going to continue to do it. I mentioned the water, progress on the water. I want to thank Kevin Guthrie for doing that. You know, I told him he's not been getting much sleep since probably, the 23rd when we did the state of emergency, and I was like, you are forbidden to have 8 hours of sleep until the water and the electrical are where we need it. And so he knows that, so he's got every incentive to try to get it done as soon as possible. And what we'll also, because we have all these resources, which are great, but these resources cannot do 100% of what everybody needs. So that's why we want private organizations to step up and fill some of the gap here. And the First Lady has spearheaded FloridaDisasterFund.org. People have donated online. They've texted disaster to 20222 to donate that way. And total, and the First Lady will say a little bit more, it's raised $32.8 million. And that's, I mean, we're not even a week from when the storm hit and already $32.8 million. So she's done a great job with that, and I'll let her come up and tell you a little bit more.
Thank you, Governor. So I was very excited last night to take a call very late to find out that we got a $5 million donation on top of what the governor just talked about. And I have to tell you, Governor, since you got your last report, we're now knocking on the door of $35 million in the disaster relief fund. So listen, he talked about this massive state effort to get all of the resources here from a relief standpoint. We've been out visiting the nonprofits and the faith-based organizations and meeting people firsthand. You can see that their needs are being met. Where this fund is going to be critical is in the recovery process. And I can encapsulate this in a story from Port Charlotte. I was handing out food at a Baptist ministry food kitchen. Cars were coming by, I had a bag in my hand, and I gave it to a woman through the window. Her name was Mary, and I looked in the back seat of the minivan, and there were 5 small children back there. And they probably ranged in age from 1 to about 6 or 7. And I asked her how things were going, and she told me that they were going well, that she was getting food and she was getting support from her neighbors, and she had the faith-based community to lean on. She went to the pods, and she was able to get water and things to help her get by. She broke down into tears when she started talking about her home and the floodwaters coming in. And this is why I'm asking everybody across the state of Florida and really the nation to contribute to this fund, because we want to make sure that in addition to the resources that are available from the state and the federal government and from FEMA, that we have these private sector dollars that will be utilized to help folks like Mary get back on her feet. So thank you to everyone who has donated. I hope to see that this has doubled in the next week, and thank you to your generosity.
You know, this is things like this, we obviously pray they don't happen, but in Florida, we prepare as if it's going to happen every year, and our state Division of Emergency Management it does the best job of any state EMs, and Kevin Guthrie is a big reason why. This was a massive mobilization. You see all the stuff that's been brought to bear. That is not easy to do. without planning, without preparation, and without good execution. So, so he's done a great job, and he's here today to give an update.
Thank you, Governor and First Lady, for your dedication. I know for a fact the First Lady was here about 12, 13 hours on the ground yesterday. The Governor's been on the phone with me nonstop, and sometimes very early in the morning, late at night when I'm not sleeping. So I got quite a few updates, but again, thank you, Governor. Thank you, First Lady, for your leadership. To the secretaries, to the CFO behind me, the secretaries that are not here, I know that Jared Perdue couldn't be with us because he's working in the field. Sean Hamilton, DEP, cannot be here with us today because he's working in the field, and many, many others for state agency heads are actually on the ground right beside their men and women that they work for them on a day-to-day basis, getting really great work done. Next thing I want to do is say thank you to the states, the counties, the cities from across the country. I know I'm going to get fact-checked on this, but I'm going to say it is estimated right now that over half the country has their logo in this state. I have walked around today, I've seen Texas, Tennessee, Ohio, Oregon, New York, and so on and so forth. We have people from all over the country here helping us today and through, as long as we need it. So again, thank you to all of those governors. Thank you to all of those emergency management directors at the state level, my counterparts, my friends, for helping us get this done. The governor has been really pointed with me. Kevin, no bureaucracy, no delays. Don't worry about the costs. Get the right thing done. And we're getting the right thing done. An example of that, reimbursement for electric. There's a lot of complicated and complex processes in FEMA to get that done, but the governor said we're not going to worry about that. So if you are a electrical entity, a for-profit or a municipal electric authority, send the bill to the Florida Division of Emergency Management. I know that's going to be important to you guys, but you just need to send it to us. Don't worry about sending it to the Lee Co-op or any of the other co-ops that you're working for. Send that to us. We will take care of it and work out the paperwork on the backside. The Blue Roof Mission. The Blue Roof Mission for the Army Corps of Engineers. This is going to be a different type of material. It's a little bit thicker. It withstands the weather a little bit better. It withstands the tarps a little, or I'm sorry, the winds a little bit better. So that has been turned on for Lee and Charlotte counties. Another example of the governor's leadership, he had me today start writing a letter to FEMA requesting the 100% for categories A and B to be extended from 30 days to 60 days or beyond. So that will be going up to FEMA from us today. Talk about water. We are ahead of schedule on water. You may recall a few days ago I said I want within 72 hours 50% of the communities that can receive water to receive water. Within 5 days, 75%. Within 7 days, 100%. Here's where we're at, high level very quickly. We're way beyond that 48 hours into this. Pine Woods Water Treatment Plant, no substantial damage, pushing 3 million gallons per day. Green Meadows Water Treatment Plant, producing 8 million gallons of water per day with discharging at 65 PSI. Olga Water Treatment Plant, minor flooding damage. Plant expects to be at 2.4 million gallons per day by the end of today, with 3.3 million gallons in the coming days. City of Fort Myers Water Treatment Plant. These wells are being run by generator. We currently are pumping 8.6 million gallons per day at 30 PSI. Lee County at the Corkscrew Water Treatment Plant. The facility is currently being run on generator power, and we were working to restore the permanent power. That is running 60 to 70 PSI. I do not have, 2 million gallons per day on that particular facility. Green Meadows, we're mobilizing 4 250 kW generators to increase that capacity for an additional 3 million gallons per day. Remote booster stations are at Miners Corner, South Reservoir, US 41, all restoring power to those locations. Cape Coral, per our staff, is 100% operational back up to pre-disaster, and then we're still working with Southwest. Cape Coral, all the generators for the lift stations, over 100 generators, have arrived, and they're starting the technical install on those things today. Let's shift over here to the Disaster Recovery Center. 200 200,000 plus have already registered for FEMA assistance, and millions have already hit the street. We are already registering people on site at this location. The last thing I want to talk about is a few things that we're doing on the islands and for some of those communities here specifically in Lee County. As the governor has already mentioned, we're going to establish a command and control coordination element on the barrier islands. We believe that that's going to be imperative to having a very sound structure of recovery. What we will do is at each one of these following locations, there will be a local individual that is a part of what we call Unified Command. There will be a state representative that will be a part of Unified Command. There will be a federal FEMA representative that will be a part of that. So again, local, state, federal government, no light in between, working off the same sheet of music for everyone's benefit. That'll happen at Captiva. It'll happen at Fort Myers Beach. It'll happen at Pine Island. We're going to call it the Upper Barrier Islands, which include Cayo Costa, Boca Grande, Cabbage Key, Yusepa Island, North Captiva Island. We're talking right now with Sanibel Island local government officials to ensure that they want us to do that. That's the only one that we haven't actually been able to contact, but we're confident that we're going to be able to do the exact same thing on Sanibel Island, and that will give us 5 command and control complexes on the barrier islands. Inside to the interior, Harlem Heights, we understand that there's about 2,500 people that are dependent on food from a local nonprofit feeding kitchen there. We have stepped in today with Feeding Florida and other partners to pick up the gap and stand in the gap for those individuals. So we have, we should be feeding that 2,500 by tomorrow. Those resources are coming in. You've already heard about the governor talk about Dunbar. We are doing that as well with the fuel station and the food station. The last thing that I'll mention is we did have a request today for hospital, another joint field, or I'm sorry, not joint, but a mobile field hospital at the Charlotte-Sarasota County line. So we will be announcing in the coming days the opening of a field hospital with emergency room services there, probably within the next 72 hours until Inglewood and one other hospital that I can't remember off the top of my head get back up and running completely. The hospital here in Lee County, the clinic is already open. They've received probably in the neighborhood of about 30, 35 patients. However, they will be there tomorrow opening their regular hospital, which will have a capacity to go from 100 to 1,000 beds if we should need that. And I should be on site there tomorrow to help in the announcement of the opening of that. We've got a soft opening already, but we'll do the hard opening tomorrow morning. Thank you again, Governor. Thank you, secretaries. I appreciate your help.
I want to thank the governor and the First Lady for their leadership. As a Southwest Florida native, I've said this plenty of times, but I am just so happy and pleased to know the response effort. It's one of the quickest, most comprehensive in Florida's history, and I'm just happy to be able to be a part of it. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for all the work that you are doing, and to Kevin and his teams and everybody behind me. We were tasked, DEO, working in collaboration with everyone here to get this up and running, so thank you to my team back home and who are here. We have dozens of people on the ground working closely to make sure that you have what you need. As the governor said, you don't need to leave your home and come here. You can do stuff from the comfort of your home. You can access the internet. Feel free to do so. If you can't or you want to talk to someone in person, come here. We have the resources available. FEMA, Department of Financial Services and the Office of Insurance Regulation, Department of Economic Opportunity, Department of Business and Professional Regulations, represented by Secretary Griffin behind me. Department of Children and Families, represented by Secretary Harris. Career Source Southwest Florida, I know Pam Elmore is here, and they are going to be instrumental in helping people get back on their feet. I know a lot of people are displaced. They might not even have a business to go back to. Well, we are here to help. There are opportunities available. We have other career sources locally, Career Source Southwest Florida, Pascal Hernando, standing buses here, and just talking with Kevin Guthrie, there are a lot of needs for current work. There are people on the ground, businesses, vendors who are helping with cleanup, and they are hiring. So we're going to direct them to go to Career Source, and if you need help, you want to get back on your feet, go to Career Source. We'll make that happen, so stay tuned for future announcements. Enterprise Florida, Florida Rural Legal Services, USSA, Florida Veteran Statistics, Memorial Healthcare, and then insurance, thanks to Jimmy Petronis in organizing this. Auto Owners Insurance, Assurance, Progressive, American Integrity, SBDC and SBA are here. Tower Hill Insurance, Universal Property, Verd, Olympus Insurance, AAA, Citizens Property Insurance, Frontline, Security First, Florida Peninsula, Geico, Monarch, South Oak, People's Trust, State Farm, Allstate, Florida Family Insurance, Edison, and that list is growing. People are coming. And Governor, I'm proud to say that Chick-fil-A is on the ground. Chick-fil-A is staged here. They are helping with providing foods to shelters and through our faith-based and nonprofit initiatives. So you can't just walk up to the bus and get it, but it's a giant rig. The day after the storm hit, Kevin turned to me and through the governor said, get Chick-fil-A on the ground. They're here. They're producing thousands to tens of thousands of meals every single day. From DEO's perspective, we are here to help with economic recovery. Again, we realize that people are without work through no fault of their own. DUA has been an initiative thanks to the governor, and we've cut red tape. That's disaster unemployment assistance. The governor has waived the work search requirements, waived the waiting week, waived registration process. Go to floridadisaster.biz and you can register. Now that's temporary. That's to help you get back on your feet. There are jobs we want to connect you with. If you are in a line of business, there are other jobs. If you want to do something completely different, again, we can help, and Career Source is standing by with that. And as the governor just announced, for businesses looking to get back on your feet, the emergency bridge loan has been announced. That is a short-term, zero-interest loan to help you get back on your feet. $50 million is available, $10 million for agricultural businesses, and we are standing by to assist. FloridaDisaster.biz is where you can go for economic resources, or come here and talk to one of our people. Thank you, Governor and First Lady DeSantis.
Oh, thank you, thank you. Okay, our Chief Financial Officer really leaning in on the insurance and has set up his insurance villages right here to co-locate Jimmy Petronas.
Thank you, Governor. Your efforts really over the last week have been amazing. The response, people I've never seen. Yeah. And I tell you, and what the First Lady's doing with the it's FloridaDisasterFund.org. This is going to help so many that fall in the cracks. There's going to be people that are just going to be, they're going to be ineligible here or ineligible there, and this is going to be able to help people out. So when she asks for that money, it's going to significant helping to folks that have nowhere else to go, all right? And what I love about it, I was doing an interview the other day, and they're asking, where's the money going? They're publishing on their website where the dollars are going and where they're being distributed. It is totally transparent, so you know exactly where your dollars are going, unlike GoFundMe. Do not touch GoFundMe. GoFundMe has absolutely zero transparency. When you give a dollar to GoFundMe, somebody could take an image off of a website, create a tragic story, and now that donation goes somewhere and there's no verification. It helps anybody other than maybe the fraudster who put it out in the first place. So again, FloridaDisasterFund.org. To all the staff that are here, all the department heads, Governor, thank you for your mobilization of this. Kevin has done an amazing job. And Congressman Donalds, thank you for being here too. I know you're going through hell also, but I just want to give everybody, again, a thanks out of our office. What you've seen has been thrown together in the last really half a dozen hours. The governor's team has worked, you know, through challenging circumstances to make sure this is a one-stop shop, that you can show up, it's safe, it's secure, there's internet. Our cellular providers are providing internet here in addition to Starlink. And to speak about Starlink, Governor, as soon as you made that available, I contacted our urban search and rescue teams. Now, those men and women have touched 72,000 structures since the storm has hit. They're doing the hasty searches. They're going in and literally, you can go to my Facebook or Twitter page and you can see what they're doing. And they're going from building to building with chainsaws looking for people. But they have to have internet in order to report that data back. Governor, I'm proud to say, if it's not for Starlink right now at those sites, they told me it's a game changer. So thank you for doing that. 16 teams from around the United States have responded in urban search and rescue help on this. And it's these men and women are working tirelessly because they, look, sometimes there's bad news. But you know what they live for? I was sitting there, I was talking about it. I said, you know what they live for? They live for the life they save. They find people, and it's a game changer. It's nourishment to their soul. It makes them work that much harder. So the fact that they're doing this effort is, it's again, they're saving lives, and they're doing everything humanly possible. So pray for them, pray for their safety, and understand, if you have not talked to your loved one, look, communications are challenged. I know that is the one thing people are looking for. I want to know if mom or dad, if my grandparents are alive and safe. Promise you, as we get communication established, as these men and women are doing their job, we will reunite you with your loved ones. Now, this is the part I've been talking about coming up to the storm. I appreciate WFLA. Y'all are here. Y'all have helped us turn up the volume on this. Is the pre-event fraud. So as long as you try to listen and you do some preparation, you can be protected from the fraudsters. These fraudsters that come here, they're no different than looters, okay? Hear me. The fraudsters that come in are no different than looters. They're going to want to take advantage of you and your insurance policy. The governor and Kevin spoke to Operation Blue Tarp. That is a free service if you need a tarp. Do not let anybody make you pay for a blue tarp on your house. Okay, if they do, and somebody tries to extract dollars from you or say, hey, your insurance company's going to pay for it, run them off your property. That's illegal. That is a service that is free available to you. So you don't want to ever be taken advantage of by that. I tell people, if it's too good to be true, it is. Listen to your gut. If somebody's being too nice to you, run them off your property because they're trying to take advantage of you. These insurance companies here, you know why they're here? They're here to write you a check. Okay, they're here to close claims. They're here to do advance payments. So look, you don't need to go call anybody other than your insurance agent, your carrier, most of them are here, or my office, 1-877-MY-FLCFO. If you're calling one of those three for your first phone call, I promise you, there's no chance of being taken advantage of. And then if you have a problem with your carrier, there's dysfunction, lack of communication, you call me. That's what we do. That's why you pay us. We are paid to break through the monotony, the challenges, the communication barriers, the overwhelming stress you're dealing with right now. Hurricane Michael leveled my hometown of Panama City. This is no different. It's just a much bigger scale. So we know how to fix what you're dealing with right now. So again, these carriers here, when you show up, they will help you piece together your claim. In most cases, you're going to walk away with a check to go put a roof over your head so that adjuster can get out to your property, assess the damages, and start the claims process. And look, just because you may get a check that may not be exactly what you're looking for, you know what you can do? You reopen the claim. It's not that hard, folks. I promise you. We are here till you're made whole. So again, please, if it sounds good, too good to be true, don't take the bait. There's a lot of really bad people out there that want to take advantage of some really vulnerable folks. In the state of Florida, we're here united, and we've got an amazing governor that's holding us together. Thank y'all.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And I will just put it, look, it's not going to be for me, but for everybody. You know, I'm putting in a plug that the Chick-fil-A van come to the DRC here, help people. You know, we also had Culver's, all these others, so they all can come as well. We'd love to have them. But I appreciate the effort in getting this stood up so quickly, because we understand that people have questions, have needs. A lot of people have registered, and there has been money dispersed already by FEMA, by the First Lady, with some of the charities for sure. But this is important to be able to do. We've got a lot more work to do, but I'll tell you, I've been working with Jimmy in the aftermath of Michael, which happened right before I became governor. You know, it's not an easy thing, and in some ways, Michael was like a sledge. Anywhere in that path was, you know, as bad as anything, you know, you see. And it took a lot of effort, and there's still effort that's going on. But I'll tell you, they bounced back. I mean, there's a lot that's going on that's great. People want to be there. People understand it's a great community. And that's what's going to happen here. It will definitely happen here. I think it's going to happen a lot quicker than some people may think, but it will happen. So in any event, yes.
I know the state response has been massive, Governor, especially on the barrier islands. We saw that firsthand today. But questions about property insurance, people who have wind damage, and they are filing claims right now. Can you reassure those storm victims that those claims are going to be paid out because the insurance companies?
Well, I think that, Jimmy, you want to take about, we have obviously layers of coverage and cat fund and everything like that.
There's multiple redundancies in the state of Florida. We have known since, we learned a lot through Hurricane Andrew. So the CAT fund exists, FIGA exists. We create a number of redundancies. That's why David Altmaier's boots on the ground right here. Where we have to educate and explain, that's exactly what we do. So the state of Florida, thank God we're in the best fiscal health we've ever been in case we have to make some type of a fiscal audible call. But again, we have built to prepare for storms like this, but I can't stress enough, a claim, an insurance policy has a set amount of value. Call it $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, whatever your policy is what you purchase. If you allow predators to get between you and that claims process, you are giving away dollars you're entitled to. Okay, so all I want to do is make people as whole as quick as possible. And let me just reassure you, when a claim is filed, just because maybe the expenses, maybe you discovered 3 months later, you've got problems in your house that are water related that you didn't know were there because you know what, you're overwhelmed, and you know what, you're not a contractor. You reopen the claim. It's as simple as that. So there's good solutions there, but again, the governor's leadership to make sure that the state has the fiscal health is the best thing that we've got going for us.
Yeah, and our CAT fund, I think, has never been this high. Has it ever been? Yeah, so we have the highest CAT fund, so obviously that's another layer of redundancy. We also, in the special session, we probably would have had companies go out of business this summer. I called the legislature in the special session. One of the things we did was create, we call it the WRAP program, which also provides additional coverage. Some of these companies, I think there may be some problematic. A lot of these big companies, I think you should feel pretty comfortable. I mean, these are big companies. Now, I know there was an effort 15 years ago to drive a lot of companies out of Florida. That was a huge mistake that we're still paying for to this day. Nevertheless, we have taken action to stabilize, and we will do more if we need to. I mean, I will call another special session, but I think it's premature to know kind of exactly, because there is wind damage, there's no question, but I've toured up and down the state, and I would say the flood far exceeds the wind damage in terms of what I'm seeing. I mean, you're going like Cape Coral, I'm driving through these neighborhoods. Honestly, you wouldn't even know, because unless there's standing water, that the structure looks fine. But then they had 4 feet of water like 3 days ago, whenever storm. So that's the issue. So I think it's going to be a combination, but I think it's going to be probably more of a flood event, whereas like Hurricane Michael was almost entirely a wind event because it was a buzzsaw that was ripping through. Yes, sir.
Governor, great news for Sanibel and Pine Island. I know people watching are probably going to ask, is there any guesstimate as to when they may be able to get back on the island?
Pine Island's bridge will be done this week. So that will be open to traffic. It'll be open to commerce. It'll be open to a lot of the first responders. I mean, we're bringing them in by helicopter and boat, but it's much easier. I mean, we dumped ATVs on the Chinooks. We brought ATVs with linemen, and now they're going around, buzzing around the island, inspecting the electrical damage, which is fine. We're happy to do it. But how much easier it's going to be when they just take their trucks right on. So that is absolutely going to happen this week. And I just met with Publix there while we were out there. Publix will open as soon as the bridge is open. Publix will open. So they're going to have Publix. Some of these gas stations I saw there, there's this beautiful 7-Eleven. Like, honestly, if you didn't see anything else on Pine Island, you would not have known there was a storm. It's like such nice construction and everything. And it's closed because I don't think they have adequate power. So we can, Kevin can help. We told the residents, generators, all this stuff, get some of these things up, I think is important. The power situation, we want to surge linemen there. Now, obviously, the FPL and the co-op, they focused on the non-barrier islands because the damage was a little less extensive. So that's understandable, and if you get all that up. But again, we believe in working in parallel. They're doing that now. More people are coming online in some of these areas. I think there's a lot more work to do in Cape Coral, some of the others. But let's also work on whatever reconstruction needs to happen on these islands. I mean, why wait a month before you even get in there? So we're basically reconnecting the islands to the mainland, both with that bridge, the Sanibel Bridge. I cannot tell you when the temporary bridge for Sanibel will be done, because I don't have there's someone's going to win the bid. They're going to have a proposal. But basically, the good news about Sanibel is that where it was severed was on land, basically. There's a sandbar where you can probably fortify, but then it's the rest. The places in the water, those poles held, and they look really good. You wouldn't know even there was a storm just looking there. So I think we'll be able to have a solution there, hopefully in the not too distant future. But you got seasonal residents, you got people that want to come back and look at their property. You got other folks. I mean, if you have transport and you can get some handle on the what it's going to take for the electrical, that's a huge, huge thing. So we think it's very, very important. And other barrier islands too. I mean, Kevin's talking about putting that C2 element on these other barrier islands, and we want to definitely do that. Yes, sir. Let Kevin take that. I mean, I think for me, when I told him, I said, I don't want bureaucracy. I don't want complaints about who's going to pick up the cost share. Just do it, because I saw that you had this massive community where almost nobody had power, 3 or 4 days after the storm, and we needed to do better. So that was one of the main reasons why we've surged. So Kevin, you want to go over that?
Yeah, I talked to Melissa last night when we did the press conference from Duke Energy. I've talked to a couple other of our big power electric companies, FPL and so on. Again, I think one of the biggest issues is, again, and I say this publicly, FPL, Duke, TECO, these private sector utilities, municipal electrical utilities, people that have individuals that are done with your stuff. The governor's pleaded with you, do not leave, get involved in the fight, coordinate with us so that we can coordinate with Lee Cooperative, and then that bill's coming to us at the division, and we're going to pay it. So it is, we've already got 4,500 or so in the fight now. I intend to, the governor said he wants to see a lineman on every block. I'm going to put a lineman on every block. All right, that's going to happen. You won't be able to go out your front door in Cape Coral without seeing a lineman very quickly.
But the thing about, we did the event yesterday in Cape Coral. We're coming in, and there's power lines that you have to dodge just to get back to where we were going at the pier. And so that needs attention now, and that's just going to require manpower. It's going to require bodies, and so that's what we're doing.
Governor, President Biden is visiting tomorrow. You're set to meet with him. What are you hoping comes from that meeting? Is the federal government doing enough?
So if there's any request, I'm going to talk with Kevin about it tonight, figure out where we are. If there's more that FEMA can do, we will put that in. But I will say, we did one of the earliest emergency declarations. The storm was a disturbance when we did it. The next day, FEMA, the White House through FEMA approved our pre-landfall declaration. So that was huge because everyone was full steam ahead. They knew they had the ability to do it. And then they've done category A and B. So we appreciate, I think FEMA's worked very well with the state and local, and we want to continue to do it and have all hands on deck.
Governor,
I don't know if I think he's going to maybe tour the air. I don't know if I'm going to do that, but I know I'm going to have a briefing with him, and we are going to meet.
Governor, when we go out to the
brought up the issue of immigration. There are Venezuelan immigrants, asylum seekers in New York that are being repeatedly recruited to come to the state of Florida and work on the hurricane recovery. I'm wondering what your response is to those reports and whether you would turn them away.
So first of all, our program that we did is a voluntary relocation program. I don't have the authority to forcibly relocate people. If I could, I would take those 3 looters, I'd drag them out by the collars, and I'd send them back to where they came from. But that's a federal government, unfortunately. That's the federal government's view. I think states should be able to be more active in that regard. Unfortunately, states have lost court decision after court decision on that. So that's just kind of where we are. But I do think that what has happened by having massive numbers of people coming across the border has not been good for this country. I had to go, and I met at the EOC. We're planning out yesterday, and then I leave that. And I didn't come here. I had to go to Tampa. Why? Because there was a memorial service for a Pinellas County Sheriff's deputy who got killed by a twice deported illegal alien from Central America. Someone was operating heavy machinery, was not eligible to work and had fraudulent documents, did not have the proper license, and ran over our deputy. How is that something that should be acceptable? I mean, it just shows you we don't have rule of law throughout this entire, we have it in Florida, I'll tell you that, but we don't have it. We don't have it throughout our country, and I think it's been really problematic. And to see somebody, look, the way I view having the border like it is, you have a criminal alien come across and then end up in a situation where someone gets killed. We can say without a shadow of a doubt, had you just had control of your border, that wouldn't have happened. And that's why they're very preventable crimes. And so it was sad that happened. It was really sad to have to see somebody buried. Well, actually, they're going to bury him in Arlington Cemetery because he's a veteran. But it was just really sad. And I'm talking to his his mother, and it's like, why did this have to happen? So it's really, really sad, the situation that our country finds itself in with respect to our open border. Okay, thanks everybody. Appreciate it.